Hello and welcome back. Today, we're starting our new book. We're starting a new book club of this series. I'm already really excited. I feel like it had a good opening chapter. Now, I wanted to look through, but you don't want to catch anything of a spoiler. So I did my best. I was going to Google how many chapters, but then I realized it kind of has weeks instead of chapters based on the plot. So we'll probably be just doing 1 week chapter a week for here, but I feel like they're fairly decent sized chapters. I think the first one was 40 pages. So it was a good hefty amount, and I kind of enjoy that. I like the one. I don't know, what do you think as book readers? Because I'm assuming if you're here, we're a part of this fun book club. I'm only really just starting to read again. Maybe you are too, and this is a great thing for both of us. But I'm assuming you might be a bit of a reader. What do you prefer? Do you prefer and I've actually had this conversation with a couple of friends in real life. I was like, do you prefer one long chapter and less chapters in a book, or do you prefer the same size book but a lot more smaller chapters? I think so far I'm a bigger chapter person. I like being immersed in one whole thing, you know what I mean? I like going through and seeing all these points in one big, and knowing it's its own section in a way. I feel with small chapters, and this happened a bit with Boyfriend Material, I was kind of oh, we're ending I was I didn't feel we needed to. I felt we could have kept going there. There was so many chapters. I felt they weren't distinguishing any changes. To me, a chapter sort of is a change, something's different, we're going somewhere else. And while that happens, sometimes I think with a lot of small chapters, you can be well, just because we're switching scenes doesn't mean we're really switching what this chapter's about in a way. And I don't know if I'm just crazy thinking that, but I just being immersed in this big chapter. But do let me know. Let me know down below what you think, what your vibe is, how you prefer, you know what I mean? I'd love to know, because it's something that I'm gone crazy about. But this book, good opening chapter, good opening week. Should we call them weeks or not? I feel that's gonna get a bit confusing, because I'm this week we're reading week 1, and it's just gonna go worse and worse for that. But technically this week we started with the first night of filming. I really where how this is set. I like the film set. It's really interesting. I don't know how realistic it is, because obviously I do not work on a film set and know nothing about that sort of industry or life, but there were certain things that I was reading that I was oh, that's really interesting to think about, or getting that the behind the scenes stuff, which I could assume would be somewhat very based in reality, or even if you didn't actually know that much about it, could be guessed. But there was lots of it. I was oh, I'm really interested. I like seeing where this is going. I like the setup. I like our main characters, one working, one be on a reality dating show. I think that's so fun. I do not watch reality dating shows. To me, yeah, they're not as much a grip to me. Reality TV, I feel for myself, lived and died, and I don't even know if these are reality TV, but with my childhood shows, watching what's that one? It's Pawn Stars, where they pawn things, Super Nanny, Wife Swap, all those crazy random shows from the early to mid 2000s, I'm assuming is when they come out, but all that sort of stuff. And it was all British and American television and shows. I feel there was no reality shows in Australia that I really felt, besides maybe Australia's Got Talent back in the day when that used to be a thing. So revisiting this world is kind of fun as someone who doesn't really interact with those. Getting to read it and know we're going into sort of a romancy time is really fun and really enjoyable. But should I stop setting this up and just throwing this book around and we get into it? Yes. The first chapters, I feel also, I will preface, they won't be as much full read. I never know going into a new book how I'm going to structure it, if it's going to be very similar the way I do things, lots of reading bits or just talking about it. But I feel the first chapters, there are never all those big reading bits because, you know, you're opening stuff up, you're learning about things. There are cute moments, but it's more like a fun retelling. We're talking about it together. We're talking about the different things. Because, like, I like to save those reading moments. Not always, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. But I like to save them for those, like, gushy moments where you're like, oh, you're like, or like something like serious has happened. You're like, holy shit. But for now, Charm Offensive, the opening night, first night of filming, chapter 1. Like and subscribe. Let's go. Okay, first of all, something that I already immediately love about this book, and I know I'm just gonna like have the best time with it, is the fact that they have like Dev chapters and Charlie chapters. I think that is the best thing ever. I love this like split perspective, getting to see things from both sides. I don't know how many times in both Red, White and Royal Blue and The Boyfriend Material, I was like, oh, I'd love to see Henry's side. I'd love to see Oliver's side. Like, I'd love to see this different side of what's going on, a different perspective, how they're perceiving things. And it was so like, I wanted it so bad. I was like, you could even like sell me a separate book and I would be happy about it. So to get this, like, there's a small part of me that's like, oh, well, then you don't get to spend as much time with one character through the whole book and you may miss it. No, I'm excited to see how this goes. I hope it's done really well. The first chapter did it really well and I was loving switching back and forth and getting that, like, you know, usually you have like one of the characters that's constantly in that like, that void where if they're not in the pages with your main character, they don't kind of exist, they're just thought about. But to see them both on different parts and existing at the same time is so interesting and so fun. But we get Dev, one of our main protagonists, working on the film crew. He generally works with the ladies of the dating shows, coaching them, working on the fairy tales. He's a big romantic. I love it. I think it's really cute. He's like, I believe in fairy tales. I believe in those big gestures. He's a guy with a big heart and I don't know. You're like instantly. It's strange because you go instantly into this thought process of him and then you get this complete reframing when you go into Charlie's chapter, which I'll get into, but instantly you're like, oh my gosh, this is so like cool. He believes in this love. Also, his friend who works with him was hanging over the fact that he solves his depression by eating mint Oreos. If you want to get me to love a character, you talk about Oreos in general. You talk about mint Oreos, he can do no wrong in my mind. Did I look towards my bin just as I was starting this and realized I had an empty packet of mint Oreos? Double stuff, of course. Yes. Did it make me sad because I realized how quickly I had eaten those Oreos? Yes, but I was like, Dev, we should get together sometime. We should have a cup of tea, eat some mint Oreos together, just chat about. I was like, this guy, he's my guy. He loves mint Oreos. Because I feel like a lot of people are either very pro or very against mint Oreos, / the mint flavor in general. Let me know down below. Mint, yay or nay? Big yay. I love mint flavored anything. Mint Oreo ice cream is like a favorite of mine. Just mint everything. Like, if toothpaste was just like a little bit sweeter, there's a chance I would accidentally eat it because mint is just like such a nice, lovely taste in my brain. Oh, I love mint. I gotta stop. Okay, we're gonna continue. So we're learning just a bit more about, you know, it's the opening chapters. We're learning more about Dev. We have learned that he was in a 6-year relationship. Holy shit. And a couple of months ago, I think, it was recently ended. His partner, who had broken his heart, we don't know how it ends yet, so maybe I could, you know, I'm jumping the gun there, but I'm assuming, I want to think it's the partner's fault already. Kind of took everything, you know, like legally speaking, and he has to still work with him, which is going to be an interesting dynamic that we only get to see a little bit of this chapter. We also find out that they're talking about the Prince Charming, because it's very... I was like, what is this place called? Forever After? Ever After? the show's something like that, but it's like filmed at a castle. It's got like horse-drawn carriages. It's very like fantasy fairy tale. It's your reality dating. It's The Bachelor with like more fantasy involved, which is kind of like really fun and enjoyable. But Mr. Charming, the Prince Charming, the guy that's everyone going for, there's whispers about him being useless. Not useless, maybe just like awkward, not good, not like your regular Prince Charming that you'd see on a show. And then someone is also talking about all the Instagram followers, the girls looking for love that aren't actually looking for love, that are all just social media clout chasers, which is a very interesting thing because I think you do think that when thinking about reality TV. I don't think necessarily all, like in real life or in the book, that all people are there to flog a brand or like start a career, but there's definitely that sort of thought process. And even I feel like there are some people that are genuinely there for like love, and then it doesn't work out and you just become a personality, you know what I mean? Like people really like you, because it's like doing anything when you put yourself out there on camera. This is getting a little meta, but there's like the chance that someone enjoys what you do and they just happen to be there for like a different sort of reason, and then people enjoy watching them and want to hear more from them, and that starts their career. Like it's very interesting. I know there's one really big I don't know how to social influencer, you know, whatever, in Australia that was on one of our Bachelor shows, and everyone just fell in love with her, and she like she has like a giant career now, like she's huge. But it's one of those things where in my mind I'm like, yes, I definitely reckon she was there for like, you know, the reason you're on The Bachelor, to find love, but then you have that like personality where people really enjoy you, and then you like that just starts this random career that maybe people wanted, or maybe people like didn't think that would happen. But also like in today's day and age, you're kind of like, if you're wanting to like do that that sort of line of work, I feel like is it that bad to blame people to like go on? I guess if you're meant to be looking for love, but like, can you really find love in like 10 weeks? Yes, but like with cameras on you and everything orchestrated, do I not believe in it? I think I believe in it slightly. I feel like I could fall in love very quickly, but like with cameras everywhere, I would be too awkward to like I'd be like, I don't want to say anything, it's embarrassing. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting like thought process to think around about why people are there on those shows, because we do learn more about our Mr. Prince Charming and why he's here. So you're kind of like, who's here for what reason? But I'm assuming we're not going to go too in depth in any of the female contestants. Like maybe in the final like ladies, yes, but I'm sure our focus isn't going to be on them as much that I would think. So we learn a bit more from Dev's eyes about Charles Winshaw, or Charlie as we'll learn to know him as. But we learn more about Charles, and Dev kind of tells us about his file. He's a genius. He graduated early, scholarships, startups, $1 million tech companies, had to leave, I don't know, he was on big magazines, you know, what sort of women he would be looking for, but he's kind of mysterious. No one really knows what his like personal life was about. There's a lot of like mysterious and intrigue, and kind of like, why is he on the show? And then Dev gets this news that he's now the prince's handler. He's no longer working with the women. He's going to have to deal with the prince. And I am saying this as I have only read the first chapter. I'm making my guess for what's going to happen in this book. Do not... I guess it's not spoiler word, because I'm making guesses if we haven't read together. But if you don't want to hear my guess, if you haven't read the full book yet, just like, I don't know, but click forward a little. But also, no spoilers in the comment. Don't let me know, but I want my guess to be out there, because if it's wrong, it's funny. If it's right, it's crazy. Obviously, I think Dev and Charlie are going to fall in love. I think they're going to spend that time together. I think that they talk about the Mike spin on at one point. I think that at one point they're going to talk about their like secret relationship behind the cameras, because they have to have time being like Handler and like Star, and they'll fall in love and then spend different moments in alone time or coaching sessions having their time together. But at one point something will come out across the mic that everyone hears, and they realize that they are in love or something, and then they kick him off the show. But then he threatens to like leave the show or something, and then he's got his final like 2 women or something that he has to choose from, and then they bring Dev back in a suit, and they're just like, or here's your third. And then they release all this footage that they randomly found of them over the whole time, and then they fall in love. And then he picks him as his final rose ceremony, and they go forward together. And that also brings their like screw Ryan, I think his name is, Dev's ex, and screw all the people that didn't want to hire Charlie because he's too weird. And that'll be the end. But that's just my guess. That's because like I feel like everyone does this when you're reading a book or watching a movie. You kind of imagine how everything's going to play out, and then it slowly like changes as you go along. So I just want to put that out there. That's my thoughts for now. I think it'd be really cute, but I'm very excited to see how it goes anyway. So then we go into Charlie's chapter. You know, it's very interesting that we get to do this, and it's so much fun. But we go into you know him in the limo going towards this first like night of filming. He's with the head of the production company, the producer, I don't know all the words, but because he's a flight risk. You know, everyone's talked about how he did his first shoot and he looked like he was about to fall off a horse, because you know you gotta, all the men in these like movies are so like, or shows are so like good and manly, but he's scared of horses and he's just a bit dorky, and I think that's hilarious. But he's looking at like the cover and the picture of him, and he's like, that's not me, that's not the person that I am. And it's this very, you know, I think that's going to be this very double thing of, you know, that's not me, that's not the person, you know, I'm not, you know, Charles, I feel like Charles and Charlie are going to be 2 separate characters this book. Charles, you know, the handsome, dashing guy that's looking for a woman to find love, and then the real person, Charlie, who's going to figure out maybe a lot about himself, already knows a lot about him, but that really goes ahead with Dev through this, I was about to say season. It feels very seasony because we're talking about TV. But, you know, the head lady Maureen, she's like, you know, you might find like love this season, who knows? And he's like, I fucking doubt it. But they pull up in the limo, and they ended with Dev like opening the door really quickly to the limo, and then you start with him opening the door and it getting like pulled out from him and him falling out of the limo. I just love getting both sides of this account, and it was so fun. He looks up, dramatic cheekbones and intense eyes behind plastic framed glasses, and an amused mouth. The man gripping the front of his tux. Dev slides his fingers into Charlie's hair to adjust the crown, and it's too much. Too much touching, too much everything, too quickly. The anxiety hijacks his brain, and in a panic he throws himself backwards against the car door to break the contact. The new handler raises an eyebrow in a single response. So, no touching then? He flashes Charlie a crooked smile, like it's all a big joke. Touching is never a joke to Charlie. He doesn't hate it as a general rule, but he prefers advance warning for a hand sanitizer to be involved. He knows he signed up for this show where touching is required, so he attempts to explain. You can touch me anywhere you like, he starts. This is where I'm like, definitely something's going to be picked up on a mic, and that's hilarious. But we really get into, like, Charlie has, they're not, a lot of, like, you know, boundaries and things like that, and things that are a lot for him, you know, sensory issues, a lot of like stimulus overload, which you can tell is going to be a fucking nightmare for him in this sort of environment where you have, for lack of a better like explanation, women groping him up probably like at every turn, because we do hear about one lady touching his butt a lot, but it's kind of like, oh shit, like, you're in for it and I feel really bad for you. knowing you have these sensory issues, it's going to be hell. But you might have to really find some like coping exercises because it's going to be tough. And I know why you want to quit, and I really empathize with you here. But Dev's like, moving like stuff, because Dev obviously as his handler has to like touch him, put on mic packs, like do a lot of different things. But I like that we start learning, that Dev already has put hand sanitizer on to like touch him for the second time. It's kind of these gestures about really learning him, which I feel like is slightly the romance, and it's just like basic human fucking decency. But it's really cute that he like understands, and he starts, I feel like Dev doesn't treat a lot of the male contestants, I feel like he's ever thought of them as like human, especially since he works with the women. They're just like those big masculine guys that are here to like party and find love and find a career. But, find love, but also, like, they're not people he would connect with. And this is the first time that it might go down that route. I think it's really cute. But they're kind of having a talk. They, talk about what we're doing here, why he looks so scared and a bit constipated all the time, but also looks like he's trying to vomit. And he's like, where's the guy that I saw on that horse? And he's like, that man doesn't exist. And he's like, well, we kind of need him to, and we need you to, put on this performance, because it's not as much a performance, but like it's the ratings for TV. They've got to like do it in a certain manner. And he's like, I don't know if I can. And he's like, look, bitch, my career's on the line. But he's practically just saying, you've got to put it on. Like you got to fake it till you make it. You have to. And Charlie's like, I don't, like, that's just not me. And you feel this like second level of like horror for him, that he has to basically pretend he's someone else for the next like couple of months, is it? And you just go, oh God, like your heart hurts for Charlie. So they're getting ready for Charlie to meet all the ladies. He's getting very anxious, that's, a lot of new faces, a lot of talking, maybe touching, you're on camera, it's horrible. Oh my God. Dev forgets the advance notice for touching rule, and his hand folds around Charlie's bicep, burning through the layers of his tux. Charlie isn't sure what's happening to his body right now, but it's not good. It's maybe very, very bad. Dev leans in closer. His breath is hot on Charlie's neck. He smells like sugar and chocolate and something else Charlie can't quite place. Mint Oreos. Or just mint. I know you're freaked out right now, but at the end of this, you're going to find love, Dev whispers. In 9 weeks, you're going to have a fiancé. And that's when Charlie truly does vomit. All over Dev. Oh my God, that's hilarious. I think it's so funny. It's just the fact that he's, he just heard, he's like, you're going to have a fiance. It's just the thought of just been like a fiance and then throwing up. Obviously, that is probably part of his anxiety, but it is also just like a cumulative build-up of so much of the stresses going on and more like touching that he's not ready with. But I like this bit here. Then again, it turns out Charles Winshaw is no one's definition of a Prince Charming, no matter how much he might look the part, and he really does look the part. Broad-shouldered, with a tux doing little to conceal his muscular build, straight-nosed, square-jawed, and sweet. It's the sweetness that caught Dev off guard when Charles fell out of the car. All men who come on this show are handsome. None of them have ever been sweet. Then again, none of them have ever been quite this handsome. Charles Winshaw is somehow the most beautiful man Dev's ever seen in real life, even with vomit on his chin dimple. Even talking about absolute nonsense, even with all the nervous sweating. Maybe especially with all the nervous sweating. I'm so sorry, he sputters. Any annoyance Dev feels about the vomit disappears when he looks up into Charles Winshaw's enormous eyes. He's like a terrified baby bird, like a 220-pound baby bird with crippling anxiety and a fairly intense germ phobia who can't navigate his way through a complete sentence. Like, you set someone up that's just like so hot, but also like like a cute little like sweetie that's also like really smart, but just as a bit like, you know, obviously they set him up to be so like interesting, and you feel sympathy for him, but you also like understand him, and you want to protect him, but you also know like in a right context he could protect, you know, there's just like so many layers to the way they have set his character up to for you to want to like empathize with him and really enjoy him, and the way Dev talks about him. And then I hope, and we'll probably see the way Charlie might start talking about Dev possibly in the future, because we have Dev, who is openly gay and obviously been a 6-year relationship with a man. He's kind of in his bits, he's comfortable talking about men and how men work and the inner workings and what he thinks, but we haven't seen Charlie open up really about anyone. He has said some, you know, I skipped over it, but like he's like tall features, tall like dark features, like nice jaw. He did very much describe Dev in a way you wouldn't describe anyone, but it was just a little bit more than a normal description. So I hope to see more of Charlie like going into a descriptive feature of Dev further throughout the book. So Charlie has to meet all the ladies. It starts out horribly. He looks like he's not interested in the slightest. Dev does have to give him a big pep talk and kind of just pick the right ladies to go first to maybe bring down some walls, maybe get some like-minded people near him to get him in a way that he's going to be comfortable talking to them. But slowly he goes through them, you know, picking up. Even when you are very like socially anxious, I think once you get that repetition, sorry, my throat doesn't want to work. When you get that repetition and you start going into like this kind of routine, I think that really helps. And once he started going like talking to a lot of the women, he got more used to it, got more comfortable. He kind of knew what to expect. I think with a character like Charlie and people like that, routine and repetition and knowledge of what's happening really helps bring out like their true self. Whereas the first thing, I was like someone who I feel like I get very anxious about things. The first time I do something is like the freak out stage. I know like driving anywhere and having to go to like a new car park, a new place, I freak out. I hate it. I don't like driving to places like for the first time. I always make my housemate do it. I'm like, I'll drive the next time we go. I just need to see this route. Like now, like, you know, anywhere that I freaked out going, that I go again and go all the time, I'm just like, wow, to think I was ever nervous about this. But I very much understand that kind of thought process. I think that's how Charlie goes about it. But he goes through all the ladies. He's like feeling, you know, probably a little bit better. Dev's like, you're doing so well. And Charlie blushes and lets out a little smile. And Dev kind of thinks, wow, he's really like happy from that one compliment I gave him. But he's like, you know, this is so fun. You're going to find love. You're going to do this. And Charlie's kind of like, well, I don't actually think any of this is real. And in my mind, it happens. If anyone's seen Ratatouille, in the spoilers for Ratatouille, you know, in the last scene where Ego eats the ratatouille and then he has the flashback moment. I think about that a lot when people like hear these things and go into a flashback. So that's how I imagine Dev heard this. He heard, what do you mean it's fake? He gets like thrown back into a memory about Ryan, his ex, talking about how he didn't think soulmates were real, how he didn't think anything was real, and he was very open going into the relationship, and that Dev kind of feels annoyed that he still went into this relationship knowing that this guy may not think soulmates or one partner is ever going to be enough for something for him. And you just get this horrible bit of, God, you spent all that time with someone who maybe didn't believe in the love you two had, which is really, truly sad. So we go back to Charlie's perspective and we get into the period of Ever After / The Bachelor, where they mingle and all the ladies fight over like having moments alone with him, which is so like you have to have a certain form of confidence to be on those shows. The fact that like if I was on one of those shows, I'd like walk up to, obviously I don't think it would work very well as a gay show because everyone would just, if you brought out, in my mind, a bachelor show with all men, because everyone's usually really attractive, and if everyone's usually attractive and they're all attracted to the same gender, they're all just it's gonna be like politely a fuck fest. It's just gonna be an orgy house. So I get why it probably wouldn't work. But I feel like if I was on that show and it was men and I had to fight for time for the eligible bachelor, I'd just be like, everyone would be like standing there getting him attention, and I'd be like, actually, maybe if I had a couple of drinks in me, like a couple of these girls, I would be ballsy. I would be very in my confidence. I got a couple of drinks in me, my anxiety flutters away. But if it was a sober time, I'd just be standing there. I'd be like, hi, let's go, Charlie, would you like to maybe, no, you can't hear me? That's okay. I'm gonna go to the food table. They would just have like shots of me by myself, like watching through the camera, just like eating alone. Oh my god. I think I would be that. And honestly, someone put me on an all-gay bachelor as a contestant because you will have your loner character done. I will be... I could go like 8 different ways on one of those shows. Sorry, now I'm just thinking, I'm like, do I audition? Do I set up? Oh my god, this could be really fun. But everyone's like fighting over the attention of him, and you're kind of like, this is going to kill him. He might die on this show. Just like... inexplicably, but like also we know why he just drops dead from all the attention. But he's talking to one girl and some giant dude walks up and is like, what the fuck are you doing with my girlfriend, bro? And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And he keeps calling her a slut, and he's like, and you're just like, okay, well, obviously the production team knows what they're doing. Obviously Dev didn't know about this because Dev, we can already tell, is too lovely. But you're like, why the fuck would they orchestrate this? And then he goes, Charlie isn't looking at Kiana. Her expression is a mixture of sadness and shame, and the only thing more potent than an anxiety attack clawing at his chest is his outrage. He turns to the boyfriend. It's not acceptable to talk to her that way, Charlie says. Or that's what he intends to say, before he is promptly punched in the face and says nothing at all. Like, are you fucking like, obviously I get it. And as we go into back to Dev's chapter, it's great for ratings. I understand that. If I saw that like headline on Twitter one day, I'd be like, I'm going to watch the episode. And they'd get another viewer. I understand I'm part of the problem. But also, that is horrible. And you're like, why would you do that to someone? And you feel like so bad. But... we go back to Dev's chapter, and he's seeing this from the other side, and he sees this, like, altercation going to happen, and he runs up to, like, Maureen, and he's like, why the hell are we doing this? And look who it fucking is, Ryan, saying, don't worry about it, it's gonna be fine. I'm like, A, I don't want to work with you. B, shut your face, Ryan. I know you've hurt us, and we don't want to talk to you or deal with you ever again. But you're like, you're like, obviously they set it up for ratings and it's gonna be good, but it hurts the fact that he has to get punched in the face. That's like, I feel like he should get, I guess, do you get paid for those shows? I don't know, but he needs compensation. That's also, your bachelor is meant to be, handsome and great. Getting punched in the face really can fuck a lot of that up, because if your face is just... not saying a bruised face is bad or anything, but it doesn't, fall under that stereotypical, handsomeness. But Maureen, goes up, she's like, oh, don't think we did this on purpose. And he's like, yeah, you definitely did. And she's like, oh, we wouldn't want to do that just for views. You definitely did. We know it. The medic has to come in. She's like, it's not broken, but his nose won't stop bleeding. And also his, eyes are gonna, he's going to bruise. And they're like, okay, we're already behind schedule. Let's take 10 more minutes. And you're like, 10 minutes? He just got punched in the face. Let him have, oh, you just, let him have an hour, please. He's already overwhelmed. But it does give Charlie and Dev some time to talk, which is really good to start the villain. Just on, actually a professional basis to have more time, especially since Charlie knows he's like annoyed Dev somehow. He's kind of like, what's wrong? And Dev's like, you said the show was fake. And as someone, like, you can see how much Dev believes in this fairy tale and this beauty of the show, and it's so sweet to see. And to change his mind about that, like, he might be able to change Charlie, is really cute. Charlie kicks his legs, which don't quite reach the floor from where they dangle over the edge of the table. I'm not really looking for love. Then why did you come on this show? To have my ass kicked in front of 20 million viewers. That startles a laugh out of Dev. Charles tries to smile again. This one sticks, and shit, he's kind of adorable. The women are probably half in love with him already. Don't worry, Charlie grumbles back into his lap. I'm not going to be the star much longer. And we're just kind of like, okay, why are you really gonna like jump out? Like, I was like, you've been punched in the face. I feel like you have to continue. I feel like if you're gonna quit, as soon as you saw that guy coming over to you, you should have quit then and then get out. I feel like after you take the punch in the face, I feel like nothing else is going to be as bad as that. And I don't know this because I haven't read the rest of the book, but I was like, the punch in the face might be the worst part of the show going forward. So I feel like you're setting yourself up for success, really. But we finally get a little bit of look into, Charlie tells us why he kind of came on the show. He was like, basically, I created the company and then, let go. He resigned as his company's CTO because he was difficult and everyone has like this, no one wants to hire him because he's too rough. And Dev's like, that smells a little bit like bullshit because like, obviously I get it, but how can you be no one want to work with you ever again if you're some mega handsome genius man? So there's got to be more to that story. I think there's possibly a big, because he keeps alluding to this big freak out or having a big like meltdown, so I'm assuming he had one of those and something went really wrong at his company and that's why he had to resign. But I feel we're gonna get more on that later, I hope, and I can't wait to find out the actual reasoning. But Dev is kind of like, possibly you're gonna have to just do this. I believe you can do this. I believe you can find love. Like, if anyone's gonna be in your corner, I'll be in your corner and we'll get through this together. And Charlie's kind of like, maybe this guy's not that bad and maybe I'll have faith in him that we can both do it. And I'll read the last bit because the last bit of this chapter was very good. They lower the ice packs, and somehow Charlie makes a nose injury look exquisite. His cheeks are crisp pink from the cold compressors, and his large grey eyes circled in light purple. Yikes, Dev says. Is it bad? You might as well scrap his face completely and start over from scratch. Ah, well, no great loss. People don't like me for my face. They generally prefer my sparkling personality. Dev laughs again. Charlie's kind of funny when you can get him to speak without stammering. Dev shakes out 3 Tylenol and reaches out for Charlie's water bottle. So you're not going to quit on us. You'll stick out as our Prince Charming. Charlie swallows the pills. If you really think I can do this, we can do this. Charlie stares up at him, a question twisting the corner of his mouth. He tries, eyebrows bunched together. You think you can make me actually fall in love with one of these women, don't you? Charlie is more perceptive than Dev gave him credit for. Charlie Winshaw didn't come on the show for love, but he's about to spend the next 9 weeks going on extravagant dates in beautiful places with amazing women. Dev might have been completely wrong about what Charlie is looking for in a woman, but he can still find him a soulmate. He always does. He gives Charlie a breezy smile. I know I can make you fall in love. Make you fall in love with him? How about that? Oh, I just really like this setup. And this first chapter was really fun because I liked the fact, that we get to see both sides. That is already like such a plus for me for this book. I also love that they're kind of working as a professional team so far. Yes, we have had little slight bits of like very cute interactions and like romantic moments, but they're only romantic in the frame that you're kind of reading a romance book. In any other like sort of lens, they are just like nice moments and like friendly moments or like professionally like sweet moments. But in this context, they're kind of romantic. And looking back at these, if they do end up in a relationship, makes them become even more romantic. But you know what? This book could go a different way. Charlie might not even be the guy that, he ends up with, but you'd think with the chapters named after him, he would be. But I really like how both of them have been set up, been talked about, we've learnt about them. We kind of know who they are going forward and what they want and what they're going to get out of this experience, which is really exciting. And I can't wait to see more of them work together. I can't wait to see where the relationship starts to pan out. It's very exciting starting a new book, especially going into the start of this and already gripping me so much. I'm excited. I want to know where it's going. I love the setting of how everything's going to happen. I can really picture it because I feel like I've seen half a season of A Bachelor once. So I kind of know, I have this image in my head of how it works out, and it's really fun and crazy and dramatic. And you have these sweet, beautiful Charlie and Dev who's ready to help. It's really fun dynamic, and I just can't wait to see where it goes. But for now, that's the end of chapter 1. I hope you've enjoyed and you're excited to go along this journey with me. If you haven't read it before and you might be reading along with me, or if you have read it and you're just coming back, I hope we're here for a fun ride. And yes, again, that you've enjoyed, that you're having a great day, and I hope to see you in the next one.